Hello, these pictures that I have right here are actually some copies of pictures that are in a cave in France. They're in the southwest area of France. There's a place called Lascaux, and in 1940, four boys that were teenagers, they were out hiking, and the story changes a little bit depending on who tells it, but they had a dog with them too, and they don't know if the dog got lost or fell or what, but somehow these boys ended up discovering this cave. And in the cave, there were a whole bunch of different cave paintings that no one was aware they existed. And scientists disagree about exactly how old they are, but everyone agrees they're thousands of years old, and they were painted in the past. People were really excited when they found that because they were still pretty much intact, and people were able to study them and learn more about them. Most of the paintings, as you can see, are of animals. Like, there's some different things that would be like types of cows and bulls. There's some horses. They even found some bison. A few other things like that, but it was mostly animals that would have been like herd animals that they would have been following. There weren't really people included in it. They did open the caves up to the public, but then they discovered that the air and stuff that just from being in there, like if anyone touched them or anything, that the cave paintings were starting to deteriorate. So then in 1963, they closed it to the public. Only scientists are allowed to go in there because they didn't want them to be ruined. And since then, they have built a replica of it so that you can still go and visit and have the experience of that. But they don't have you're not going to ruin the actual paintings. There is also a website that has a virtual tour that you can do. So probably most of us aren't going to be able to travel to France and see the actual replica, but you can do the virtual tour. So what I'm going to do is show you how you can make your own cave painting or a replica of that. So here's one I already did, and now I'm going to show you a little bit more how you can do it. Now, I did find, so I had some pictures I found, or just keep in mind that they're simple things. There's also been like a type of deer that were in there, and if you notice, they're not really like super realistic, not the best drawings of them. So if you're not a great artist, that's okay. Like, I made this horse and it's pretty funny looking, but it doesn't look that different than an actual one. I was trying to recreate that. So what you're going to need is a piece of paper. I have like a construction paper type stuff. Just because it gives a little bit better texture, and I chose kind of a creamy color one because it's a little closer to a cave thing. Now, I've started this. I just did a really simple outline. If you do have something like oil pastels would be really good for this. I don't have those, so I'm using crayons. You're going to want to use like earth tones, mostly like shades of brown and reddish orange, maybe a little bit of yellow, but you're not going to have like bright, vibrant colors. So I have this cow, and you can kind of see, they also a lot of times, I just did like some vague shapes that are, because sometimes there's not just one isolated. So now I'm just going to, I have a variety of brown crayons I've already picked out. I'm just going to color it in a little bit more solidly. Some of them were more like outlines, and some of them were filled in or painted in. Okay, so I'm going to go over a few places a little bit darker. So I've got you can kind of see my legs are not very good. Some of it is almost like sticks. Okay, it's got a tail. So I'm just filling this in. There are some horns on it. Now, I don't want it to be, a lot of times, especially as it blends with the cave wall, it might have, so I'm going to actually go over this with another color, at least parts of it. I'm just going to do a few other shades of brown to kind of give that background of a cave. Okay, so I think I want a little darker, so I'm going to just kind of fill in here. There's a few places where I want the lines to be a little darker, so I did that. Now, you can pretty much see my lines. I want it to be a little bit more like that. So what I'm going to do is, I have a tissue. I'm going to take the tissue, and I'm just kind of rubbing it over my drawing. And you can see some of it's coming off on my tissue, and you can see how the lines aren't quite as clear. Now I'm seeing that in some places I need a little bit more color. So I'm just going to go back with my crayon, the main color I was using, and I'm just going to color it in a little bit better than what I did the first time. So I'm just filling in a little bit better because I noticed that I still had a little bit too much of a gap in between things. So I'm just filling that in a little more. Now once again, I'm going to take my tissue and I'm really just going to rub over the top of it. This would really work well if you had some oil pastels, but I do not have any of those at my house. So, and it's going to give kind of a blurrier thing. I'm even going to go over where I basically just have lines, because then it kind of blurs the edges, makes it look a little bit older. Okay, and these things that I did that were just kind of really vague outlines, I'm doing the same thing on that. Okay, so now I have my shape, but I want it to look a little older. Now, right now my paper has really nice edges. If it was a cave, this were like pretending we kind of cut this out of a cave, you wouldn't have that. So I'm just taking it and I'm just tearing off pieces so that it looks kind of jagged. It's not quite tearing. And you can do like a whole big section at once, or it kind of depends on how your paper rips. You just don't want to like get rid of any of your actual drawing. Or even if you do, sometimes there's only a partial part left over time, even in a cave, like some of the things. Oh, I'm almost getting rid of a horn there. So I'm just ripping it. Yep, I did use a little piece of horn. So when you're happy, you just keep going. Just kind of rip it. See how now it looks a little more jagged? And then I'm going to do one more thing to make it look a little bit more like the wall of a cave. Now you don't want to do this too tightly, but what I did is kind of gently crumpled it up. So now it kind of looks all wrinkled and not smooth, because the wall of a cave probably isn't going to be that smooth. So remember, this is one way you can show, and here's another one. So here's two different examples of if you were going to make your own Lascaux cave paintings that other people could enjoy. Thank you.